All right, we'll bring this meeting to order at 3 o'clock, and we'll start with privilege of the floor, and I will take that privilege of the floor. And I'd like, if Ray and Pat would meet me over there for a second.
Right in front
Really?
of the picture.
Yeah, we really are going to shoot
Right up
you.
against the wall. They really are gonna shoot you.
Bill and Margaret, if you'd like to come with me.
Oh,
as well.
no, I have to get my gun first. Hold on.
So that's okay.
I told you to send that check in.
What did
Make
we-
sure the rifles can get a good aim. Let's get in front of the picture here.
Okay.
Well, on behalf of the town, we'd like to recognize all of your contributions and achievements and how you helped keep this town on track for as long as you guys have done. And we wanted to dedicate this year's annual report to you guys.
Oh my God, really?
Hey,
No, you're not.
That's all right.
We'd like you to enjoy, try to enjoy it.
everyone look this way. Please.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a picture. Congratulations to Pat and Ray.
I said, we're sitting there saying, what?
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks.
Right.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks. Oh.
The only thing is now you have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
So we can
Yeah, I
try to
suppose
muck
so.
it up again.
Stay for part of it anyway.
Okay, let's continue with privilege of the floor. You got anything you want to, anybody want to add anything to that? Okay, then we will move ahead with the approval of the minutes from the last, the meeting and the budget hearing meeting.
Which ones do you want to start with?
Let's start with the meetings of February 10th.
I had just one change, and it's
Okay.
not that the minutes, it's on line 64. It's not that the minutes are incorrect, it's talking about the water leak up on the hill. I think we ought to add just in parentheses, that some statement like subsequent investigation indicates it is a water main leak.
Okay.
Because right now, if you read it,
You
you'd
say,
think,
we're fine, we're done.
right. So,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, so we ought to put something like in like that.
Okay, great.
Other
And
than
I
that, I'm fine.
had a small one on line 67. Every year the same issue occurs and he aware of it. So we need to change that a little bit. Is aware of it. Throw an is in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve the minutes as changed.
Any second? I will second. All in favor? Aye. All right, now on the budget meeting, I found a mistake right on the top, I think. Well,
I think
under
we
members
corrected-
I
present.
think
We
we
corrected
corrected that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, on mine I've got
Mark
Mark
found
in it.
that.
Yeah,
Oh,
here's,
okay, no, that,
yeah, these are the changes we
Yeah.
already made.
I had changed to line 147. I thought that was kind of misstating it. It implies that if you read that, you'd believe we're gonna spend the $25,000 on the cruiser. What I'd like to see written is, with the intention of providing funds in the unlikely event that major maintenance is required.
Yeah.
And then, because it's not likely we're gonna spend that money on maintenance, we're probably gonna use it to buy a new vehicle.
okay.
Okay,
Okay, so add unlikely event.
right,
Anything else?
no.
All right, Margaret? Nothing? All right, I'll make a motion to approve those as amended. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
We're done with minutes. Department heads, who would like to go first? Public safety, because I guess the other guys are gonna be here for a while.
Yeah, they are.
Okay. The past 2 weeks, we went through Massachusetts vacation, and now we're halfway through New Hampshire vacation. We had 17 fire and EMS calls during the course of the last 2 weeks. All but 3 of those were during the mass vacation week. And we had a total of 40 calls for service from the police. About 50% of those calls were just assistance calls, such as jump-starting cars, unlocking cars, directions, things like that. So that's the summary of our activity from the last 2 weeks, and next week I'll give you the detailed breakdown, the monthly detailed breakdown.
Compared to history, fairly quiet?
Yes, it was about normal, maybe a little less
talk about the school bus during his report. I don't have an agenda item.
Sure,
for it.
whatever you'd like to bring up.
We also, just so you know, we had a resident, break their wrist walking down the sidewalk. I told, we
Yeah.
can talk about that later if you want. But it was,
Which sidewalk?
it was in front of, Nate's house.
Okay.
So, it was just one of those days that was.
It was.
Couldn't,
Had too
couldn't do
many of
anything,
those,
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And do we have
But-
liability in a situation like that if someone breaks their wrist on our sidewalk?
As long as we've been taking reasonable care, we don't, there are statutory immunities.
Okay.
yeah, and there was no, it was just an FYI, there was no intention or.
Yeah, okay.
So as far as, buses, if,
Yeah, we had talked after the school, meeting about what would we need to do if we wanted to use the recreation bus.
Mhm.
So there is a point of contact, at the state police. And their office is responsible for all transportation of pupils in the state of New Hampshire. So Chris had a chance to talk to one of the people in that office. I think the assistant.
yeah,
In
or,
that
I don't know,
office.
I don't even think it was the assistant, I think
Okay.
it was just a road guy.
Okay, so, but I just asked Chris to give you an update on what he found out.
All right.
So I guess, first of all, to have a school bus, it's gotta be lettered school bus, permanent letters, all the emergency features as far as warning lights, the stop arm that comes out. It needs to be inspected twice a year by the state. As far as the driver has to, have a background check, medical clearance, a school bus certificate in order to operate it, at a minimum. And if the school bus is bigger than 15 passengers, they need a passenger endorsement. Obviously, they have to maintain daily logs and records.
Does it make any difference, Chris, or maybe you didn't ask them whether it goes to the school or not? If the purpose of the bus was merely to get them to Campton so they could get the bus?
Yeah, it's any portion of a trip to school. And I think that I think one of the thresholds is that it's owned by a municipality or contracted by a municipality to
Okay.
transport students. So that's kind of the threshold of a bus. So that would allow a private person with a private vehicle or a private van
Right.
to transport people.
And because
without
it's owned by the
funding.
town,
Right.
We fall under
Yeah.
the rules.
Yeah. So it's any portion of the trip to school. So if it's a trip to another bus stop, it's still classified.
So, based on your understanding, because these will make hurdles, where it just becomes impractical again to do it. If the town were to provide some funds to a parent that was willing to contract and drive a vehicle,
Yeah, I mean,
But if the
it might be a
town is-
little sticky, but I could,
I think if the town provides funds, the town becomes.
well, it's not our vehicle.
Yeah, but it's still, it's our money.
Or contracted,
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't get into
we,
it.
we didn't
Yeah.
get into that kind of detail, Bill, but,
Well,
we
the
can ask.
interesting thing we found is that, the quote that Robinson's gave, or
Robertson's.
Robertson's gave,
Right.
is kind of a fair deal compared, I mean, if you take into consideration all of the paperwork,
Mm.
maintenance.
And the other thing about the
What was the
bus-
quote they gave? I'm just curious.
36,000.
36,000.
Yeah.
The other thing about the bus, if we were to use the bus to take the kids to school, that bus and a driver has to be on call all day. Because at any time during the school day, they could call for that bus to come pick up the kids. If there were an incident at school or weather change or something like that. So the bus cannot go anywhere else, cannot do anything else or be committed. It has to be available for the school. And if the bus is to break down, we would be responsible for finding alternate transportation once we started this system.
So that's,
So you're basically gonna have an on-call person.
Right, I think the feasibility of it becomes more and more less practical the more we look into it.
Well, for the sake of 4 kids,
Well, for the sake of 4 kids, but I've had a lot of inquiries on by people asking me about this
Mhm.
and when to vote
Sure.
on it. So I think there's gonna be a good dialogue on this.
right. Right, well, that's, yeah. it's a lot.
I missed the part about where is it, if people wanted to get on an existing school bus, they would have to take the kids?
They have to go down to Goose Hollow.
Six-
Or-
Goose
Six-
Hollow.
Or at 6 Mile Bridge,
Yeah.
the bus comes there and goes.
Or you can,
No,
actually,
go all
for the
that
high
far.
school bus, I'm sorry.
For the high school bus, it's
High school bus
Campton.
is
Yeah.
Burbank Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Burbank Hill Road is what I understand. You'd have to get to
Yeah.
Burbank Hill Road.
and I did that with Andrew all the time.
Right. And my concern, I understand, I'm not sure what the objection to that is, other than it's very early in the morning that bus goes by.
Yeah,
You know, you'd have to get there pretty early.
but any other bus would have to you'd have to get your kid in the bus.
The bus would have to leave here pretty early in the
Yeah.
morning, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 6:45 at the extreme latest.
Yeah,
And I think the Burbank Hill bus comes down the hill around 6:30.
right.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, we would leave, I think, at 6:30 to get out of here at the latest.
That was just for information.
Okay.
Oh, great, appreciate the research.
Well, we ought to pass the information on, I think, to the
Mhm.
school board, so that they know that
Okay.
it's not likely that we're gonna be able to use, because the state regulations say that, basically say any vehicle owned by the town
Mhm.
would
For
have to,
purposes of,
once
Getting
you
them
put a
to
student
school.
in it,
Yeah.
you gotta mark it as a school bus.
And I think we might even have to repaint it yellow, because I'm pretty sure yellow is required for school buses.
the
There
signs
are
have to be-
regulations. Huh?
The signs have to be yellow.
Yeah.
All right, good to know. All right, well, is that all you got on your end?
That's all I have.
Okay.
Okay.
And how was,
Special Olympics comes in,
Yeah.
Sunday.
yeah,
All the
Opening
snow is
ceremonies.
gone.
What's that?
All the snow is gone.
Yeah, they're working on
Yeah.
what they're gonna do. They're all still gonna come.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's they're not sure which events they're gonna be able to
Yeah.
do. But we are looking for a welcome speech from anybody sitting
yeah.
in
Well,
front of the room right
if
now.
no one objects, I'll do it.
Okay.
I missed
Okay.
doing, I like doing it, I missed
he
doing
likes-
it last
he
year, I
likes
wasn't
doing it.
here.
He's good at it.
All right.
So I'll send you an email. It's,
Yeah.
Speech number 102.
I think it's 7 o'clock in Town Square.
All right,
So
Thanks.
Sunday night.
thanks, okay.
All right. Brooke can go next.
Okay, Brooke?
Just walked in.
Yep, New Hampshire Vacation Week is here, and we've had some people. We have ice cream social this Saturday and climbing on Friday. Our Massachusetts Vacation Week was really busy. We had big crowds for all the regular stuff, team trivia, dodgeball, pickleball, ice cream social, cycling. We did great on some of our new programs. We did an essential oil workshop and a family Valentine's celebration and canvas paint party. And a 3-point shootout, which was attended by 30 people doing a 3-point contest. That was lots of fun. So right now we're just working on our summer brochure, getting our online registration up and running, and Easter.
Great.
Have a chance to look into the auto belay thing?
I sure have. We
We do.
received a quote. I don't know if Mark is gonna touch on
I
that.
haven't, yeah, I haven't, I didn't print that out actually. But we do have a quote, it's around,
It's $21.95 per belay unit, so that's, you need 3 of them.
it'd be about $6,300.
$6,300.
Yeah,
66.
6,600.
Do we, would we, that's, you know, again, in my mind, you know, if we can, you know, reduce the manning, even by just one person, I mean, it's worth it to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we've talked about if we would be able to, for that program, reduce
Yeah. Do
staffing.
we need to, can we find the money if we decide to go ahead and do this?
Well, it can come out of contingency.
Okay.
The only thing in talking to Brooke about, the only thing that I wanted to do was to wait until town meeting and then make sure that there aren't other changes in the budget that we don't have to react to.
Right.
But we can order it the day after town meeting if you're all right.
No,
with it.
it's the, I was just wondering whether we needed to try to amend the budget to include funds to do it. 6,300, probably not. It's not
Yeah,
worth the effort.
I don't
go
think
through
that it
vote.
would be. No, we have our contingency and I think this is a legitimate item for
Well,
that.
you know, I'd
It
just like to
wasn't
see
planned.
what your projection would be as to, you know, how many, you know, man hours, you know, it currently takes to man all these, you know, when you run the thing and how many man hours would you save? And then we'll go from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
But it
okay.
seems to me that it's worth doing.
Sure.
I definitely think it would be worth doing.
Yeah.
And it would give us an opportunity to use the Commonwealth a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the staff.
Yeah, because you don't have to have an army of
Right.
people in there.
Right.
Right.
So we'll email you that information if that's all
No,
right.
good. Can we get a breakout of just climbing wall revenue?
It is, it's on your, it's on the
It's still
report.
broken out as a report
It
as one
is,
line?
at the very
Because I had
bottom.
someone ask me about that, someone who was just in a mood to
Yeah.
ask a lot about the climbing wall, and I was
I
at a
don't
loss.
know how much we beat it by last year, but we did surpass the projected income revenue.
Yeah, I wanna say we're about 120% of what we
Yeah.
projected. I can
Great.
get that too for you.
And you can expand more hours?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Right.
with the auto belay system, we'll be able to have the Commonwealth open a lot more.
Yeah,
Okay.
Good.
It could be a part of open gym.
Yeah.
because
know,
you don't need
which
any
everyone always
staff.
asks for,
But you don't have the, gotcha.
but there's a communication, a dialogue, you know, that has to go between the climber and the belayer, so the open gym can't happen because you can't hear each other.
Right.
But with the auto belay system, you don't need, that's not required anymore, so.
But don't you need someone there anyways?
Well, we would have someone there supervising the setup, but it's not, you know, it's advertised as, you know, it's just automatic, I mean,
Yeah, it's advertised as one thing, but do we wanna,
that's true.
you know,
I think we
have
do
someone
wanna have-
stuck in the middle of that and have our person,
No.
you know, on the other side of the
No,
gym?
we'll be there and
Yeah.
supervising it.
Okay. Great, thanks. And the numbers were significantly, really up. You sold out Kids Night Out and all the other stuff?
Kids Night Out was not, really up, but it wasn't down, it was just sort of the same, and we ran two successfully. Last year, we only ran one
Yeah.
successfully. All the numbers it was great, it was really, and we
Yeah.
lost a couple programs, like the Paint Your Own Pottery, which was, you know, brought in a lot of revenue. But it also was a lot of expenses going out, so we replaced that with a lot of programs that brought in more revenue, actually, so.
Right.
There, in talking about her revenue, if you wanna look at the last sheet, is the expenditure and revenues. I'm showing 8188 on there, total
Yeah.
collected for the rec. She actually gave me a deposit as I printed this, so
Today,
we're
it's 10,300.
10,300. So we're about even with where we usually are.
Yeah, we're above where we were
Above?
last year.
Okay.
When do
ahead.
people need to renew their native IDs?
Yeah, that'll begin in April, because that's when we start
April
issuing.
1?
Yep, and with our new online program, registration program, native IDs will now have their own individual anniversaries. We will no longer be having to have them re-up on the same, you know, anniversary, which was April before. Now it will be
The
individual.
rec desk will allow us to track the
Yeah.
year.
Great.
More info on that coming.
Great.
Everything okay?
Mhm.
The climbing wall is at the very bottom, Mike, in that box, so we're about,
Oh, gee,
19.
it is, it's its own.
it's about
line.
19% through the year, so, 19%.
Has that always been there?
Yeah, it's always been there.
Okay. I shouldn't have asked that, but I just don't.
It's okay. All right,
Okay.
great, thanks, Brooke.
You're welcome.
Any other questions while we're looking at the revenue sheet? Do you-
No,
Do you mind
I'm gonna
looking
tell
at
you,
that?
I was impressed from sitting there during the election and seeing the interaction with the adults and the adult programming. I saw a completely different mix that I'm used to at the rec department, and I think that's great.
anything else on expenditures or revenues? It's
No,
not,
No,
nothing much to.
where is the climbing one?
Right down the
It's
bottom.
at the
there.
very
Bottom
bottom
of
of
the
the
box.
box.
Oh,
Way down the
Yeah,
bottom.
it's
Way down the
underneath.
bottom in the box.
Alright,
And I usually stop at the bottom line,
I got it, alright, now I see
the
it.
appendix.
So, there's not much to report,
Right.
department heads we're just doing normal operations until after town meeting,
Yeah.
so. The biggest things that are ahead right now are, our, insurance because of payment on
Right.
the, premiums, and, debt service principal and interest because of repayment schedules
Right.
on our
And-
debt service.
And on the income side, our permits,
Mhm.
fees, and registrations are up, because I assume the mountain paid their stuff? Or-
No, actually,
Really?
that is because we had a, significant payment on some backwater and sewer bills, and there was a lot of interest on one
Oh.
of the payments. So, I think it's our number 2 account that's in the in arrears, but they're making solid payments to us, and they're slowly but surely catching up, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me too, to already be 24%, but it's a good thing.
Okay. Well, since we've moved to financial, anybody else with any questions on the financials?
No.
You said that with a...
No, I have no
Oh,
questions.
oh, okay.
No.
All right.
Me too, Mike, I'm like, whoop.
All right, well, it looks like we've got, the next few things coming up all deal with, you know, Public Works. So why don't we just knock out this personnel policy update?
Yep, now,
Before
you
we
don't
get to
have to do, you don't have to do that today if you don't want to, but
Let's
because
discuss
of
what it is.
Okay, so as part of the 2016 budget, we froze the opt-out payments at the 2015 level. Our personnel policy had the opt-out payments based on a percentage of the current premiums. So the change would be to take out the percentage and make them the flat payments at the 2015 level. It's not it's something you've kind of already made the decision to do
Right.
that. I just wanted the policy to reflect what we were currently doing.
I have no problem with the change.
No,
No.
do we need to vote on that change?
Yes,
All right.
Before we get there though,
Sure.
in looking at the rest of the policy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think we ought to, under general, include
Okay.
a statement along these lines, if we can agree on what it would be. But basically, in the case where both partners are employed full-time
Yes.
by the town,
Mhm.
I don't think we should pay any. We just provide the insurance. I mean, I think we ought to make a statement that there no incentive payments don't apply.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
because we wouldn't incentivize one employee and cover the other.
Right, or otherwise
employee.
you'd.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Right, I mean, you know, so I think under general,
Yeah.
it's just, it's never come up, it probably never will come up, but in case it does come up, you know, where you've got both people are employed by the town.
Mhm.
I think
Well-
we ought to include a statement that along those lines, in case where both partners are full-time employees of the town, incentive payments do not apply.
Okay,
Or
one-
you can just say to take that coverage under a spouse's plan with another employer.
Or that's fine with me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just some way to make sure that someone reading it wouldn't think that there's this special, unique
Yeah.
case if you got two people employed by the town.
Right.
I'm okay with what Margaret's doing. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
fine.
We'll work on language, let's bring it back,
Okay, we'll
and then
table-
you can
It's okay.
Change
table it.
language, we'll bring it back for
Okay,
next
so we'll
time.
change one of the two.
Okay.
Okay.
Special permit, do we have to pay for a
No,
special?
yes, we will, starting in 2017, Greg has spoken with the Forest Service because we received this bill from the Forest Service and we never paid it before. and
He said under the 30-year, I think it's 30 years.
Yeah,
That was, they were going through their records and going through archives. And they came up with this, and he said that the 255 was waived all those years.
Okay.
Now that they found it and we have to apply
And we
for
have to
it again.
renew, so our initial special use permit for the sewer line that runs from the ski area
Right.
down here to the treatment plant has come to an end. So it was a 30-year special use permit, and we're at 30 years. So we have to apply for a new special use permit, which Joe and I are intimately familiar with this application process, but there's a form that we have to fill out. We'll have to go through their approval process during this year, and we need to get it
Yeah, he
approved
figures
by
it's about
January
4 to 6
1st.
months.
Right.
it'll
To
take.
get approved something that has
Yes.
been in place for 30 years.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would
They're
take
just-
4 to 6 years.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
just catching up with what they put in the ground
All
30
right,
years ago.
and let me ask another dumb question here.
Yeah.
This is the line that brings the sewage down from the mountain, right?
Right.
Right.
Isn't it their sewage? Shouldn't they be paying this fee?
Well,
Well, the company had to vacate their septic systems way back. That was over where the trailhead is.
Okay.
It goes up. They weren't allowed to use them anymore. That's the whole idea behind this. So it's the ski area that produces the septic.
well, no, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Shouldn't they pay
Isn't
for the
it?
permit and apply for the permit? But
Oh, the ski area.
we
Yeah.
are,
Well, that's,
the line is a main, the line is ours.
Who owns the line?
We
do?
own, the town owns the line.
So if the line
Right,
breaks,
it's a main.
we have to fix
that,
it.
I'm not, that, you'd have to go back 30 years and find out
Owns the line?
who owns the line.
Well, if you look at
Who
the
holds
def,
the easement for the line to pass
Because
through?
back when that was first put in, and I'm hopefully not talking out of line.
No, go ahead.
When that was first put in, Paul Levitt worked at the mountain, and he used to have to take care of all the chlorination that they used to use. They don't use that anymore, but they had to maintain all of those, the old, they used hydrogen peroxide and chlorine
I'll
before it came to
What,
us.
what do
I'll
we
see.
charge them in terms, what would their standard fee be? Are they?
they have a flat fee for the sewage because.
Comes off the water that
That's
they
right.
use.
Off the water.
We read the water meter up there, and then
So approximately what do we
In
get a
charge.
year from that?
I'd have to look that up.
I'd have to look it up, I don't know.
But is it
It's
thousands?
in the, yeah, it's in the thousands.
Is it in the tens of thousands?
No.
I wouldn't say it's
No.
no
See,
tens, I'd say it's
I
probably
would,
close to about
I would just
10
as
itself.
soon if we
Yeah.
felt that we were entitled to, you know, I don't trust them to send the check in and fill the forms out.
Well,
And
yes.
then we really got ourselves in a
Right.
pickle.
But we can be reimbursed, can we charge them a
So
betterment?
you know, if we want to, I'd just add this fee onto their sewage bill or
Yes.
something.
I
Well,
don't know
In which
why-
case we know it gets
Yeah.
paid, or otherwise
will-
they'll let it
No, no,
lapse.
that's what I was going for. I was going for,
Let it
why are
lapse.
we paying?
I'm thinking it was one of the good old Tom Corcoran, you guys put it in for us, we'll pay you back for it.
Yeah.
Whatever, however that worked way back when.
I
But
think there's a couple of issues, I think, the definition of a main,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
what, you know, whether or not it's a main. If there's any agreements, we will find out if there's any written agreements. But as far as just getting this process started, because it is 4 to 6
Yeah.
months, I wanna, I'm gonna
I
take
would.
it under
And
us
he
to
said it
get
will be
it
a
done.
minimum fee.
And
It won't
we-
even be, he figures it's gonna be more than that.
Yeah,
All
like
right.
$100,
Let's-
so,
Whatever it is, we'll try to pass on to the mountain.
right, I
But
understand.
it'd be good to
We
know
can
who
build-
owns the line, and the way to check that out would be who holds the
Well,
easement.
we
But-
have the special use permit, so we
I
have the
understand.
easement.
permit.
Yeah, but
It's our permit.
that's our permit, but who owns the line? Because if the line breaks, that's a big line, that could be,
See, I don't think that's ever been,
but you would just guess who's holding the easement to run the line, would be the owner of the line.
He's saying we
We
do.
are.
We are.
But
We
you-
have the easement. We
Through
have
the forest?
Through the forest, that's the special use permit, and that's in the name of the town of
Okay,
Wappo
that's,
Valley.
that's what I'm trying.
Yep, that is definite, because that's what generated this initial bill.
before your time too.
Because they still have some septic systems up there as well, right?
I don't think
No.
so.
Wasn't there a
Well-
septic behind the T-bar building?
They over down
No,
by
this is
Lower
sort of like-
Meadows, where
the
where those
maintenance
kids come out of
shed.
that base
Yeah.
camp
Maintenance
area
shed, I
there,
do
those
not
are all
know
septic
if
systems.
This maintenance shed ever went on the sewer, but I think the medical building
Yeah.
And that building there, when they redone that, that all went, that goes right in, that's teed into the
Oh.
line right through there.
But the courtyard is where I think
It
it's
starts
like,
out in front. There used to
Okay.
be two big metal, I don't know if the two big metal
Okay.
tubes come up, the goosenecks there.
Yeah,
Are they
there,
still there?
yeah, there.
They're still there. That's where the siphon chamber is. The septic tanks still hold the solids.
okay, and then,
And then no solids come down that line. That was-
but they're
it's a
held up
mile
there,
long,
so that's
yeah.
why
Yeah, so they use the
you know it's
siphon
there in
chamber,
April. How's that?
and then in the summer, Rouse come and pumps it out.
So this would be a 30-year cast iron pipe, the odds
Oh,
are pretty,
it's
It's electric,
plastic.
it's gotta be.
They were doing plastic back then.
all right, well, that'd be good, otherwise
It's,
it's
I think it's
rotted,
iron
right?
going under the river, ductile under the river. Cause it comes down right to the.
It comes down and then it
Cause
comes
they
right
ran,
into the
they ran their
plant, under the
snowmaking
river,
pipe up the same
and into
time.
the plant.
When that all was put in, they were running their snowmaking line from that pump house behind our
Yeah,
joint. They ran that up kinda
Parallel
parallel
to the
septic.
the water line. Yep.
Okay.
So we will find out if there are any agreements, and we'll continue to apply for the extension of the special use permit.
Okay. All right. I guess it's time for Jim and Joe.
The Jimmy Joe show.
Jim, do you have anything you wanna get into as far as that water main and stuff before we start
yeah,
with Joe?
the water leak.
The water
Yeah.
leak, it did, as you're aware, I'm
Right.
sure that it did turn out to be a water leak. And, it's one of the, it's one of the older pipes in town. It's cast iron, 8-inch cast iron, and, we were able to locate the leak. And, at first, the volume of water that was leaking out of there we suspect that it's a leak, but when we tested it several times, the pH, there was no chlorine, and the pH was off from what we run. So, we said, well, we've got cold weather coming in, and we do periodically get groundwater poking its head up in different places in town at odd times. So when it didn't shut down during the cold weather, we went up and we were able to use hydrants and gate box covers and whatnot to put geophones on and kind of walk
Put
us
what?
down the road. Geophones is just like a giant stethoscope listening to the
Hear
ground.
water running.
And you were able to pinpoint the leak, and we had Lee Johnson come in and repair it.
Was there any groundwater coming up through that, or it was just a pipe?
Oh, so it's repaired, because I took a walk up there the other day, yesterday, I think, and there's water running down. Now, is that
You're
groundwater?
imagining things. You didn't see no water.
There is a brook, the brook, well, see, that was the other thing that had us, because there was quite a bit of water running in that ditch line.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, there's a lot of water running in the ditch line on the very upper end of the road.
And
Exactly.
that's why we were testing it.
Okay,
It wasn't
Yeah.
coming back with any.
so that's
chlorine,
not the
so-
water leak. That's still, it still is groundwater.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is.
That
So,
is groundwater.
my question is, why was there no pH in this water if that was a water line?
Well,
Shouldn't it have
very-
pH in it?
Well,
It
it gets
did-
mixed.
It gets mixed, it could get.
That's what I was,
It
what is
could have
it?
been mixed with whatever groundwater was present, because.
Okay, that's what I was asking, there was
and
groundwater
the
present.
pH can change as it travels through, the subgravels and whatnot, so. And it very
It
well,
was 6.8, 6.9, which,
it's close, but.
that's close, and the ditch that Bill's referring to was 6.7, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was.
Yeah, all right, see, I don't know about this, I just thought it was 0 versus we got it or we
No,
don't.
no,
Zero, 14.
sometimes it's a, is it or isn't? The
Yeah.
chlorine is usually what
The
gives it
chlorine
away,
is,
but.
yeah.
Well, that was the
That
question,
wasn't-
when
there
was
was
no
no
chlorine,
Probably
we
just
thought it was
leached out.
Yeah, the chlorine was getting eaten up in the dirt before it came out, so.
But are we sure we're getting chlorine up there is my
Oh, yeah,
question.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. Okay.
definitely.
But we're just not letting it go to the brook when it breaks.
All right,
It's up there, it's just not going to the houses, right?
No, you're at point 2.
Okay, great. All right, so let's move ahead and talk
Yes.
about our favorite
Just enough.
yours and mine. We will finish this project this year.
Now that is for the camera. That
Yeah,
was
you wanna
Joe-
sit- you wanna
No,
sit-
that was Joe Ducharme speaking, saying we will finish this project this year.
Yes.
No, you can sit wherever you want.
Okay.
I s-
I didn't know if it,
Oh, come on up to the
didn't know if it mattered. Yeah, we've had a bunch of iterations of basically trying to design, still the goal of trying to design a combined treatment system for the town, which is gonna ultimately save the town money in the long run.
Right.
So we've been through several iterations, we've had meetings with Mark and staff on design review meetings, and we've made all the design decisions. I've got electrical and mechanical work to be done with our two subs, and I think probably about 2 weeks from now, we'll have a set of plans that we bring to DES for their final review and authorization to go to bid. So the anticipation is to bid the project in March. 30-day open bid period. Contractor selection probably start, usually after bids are opened, there's about a 30-day period for contracts and vetting, so probably a May start time. Key is to obviously bring well 4 online. That is the critical aspect of the project with the timeline for the well permit for that new well. And then there's also the combined treatment system. One of the tricky things about setting this up is the way your system works now. We really have to get well 4 online and running and feeding your system before we can make any modifications to well 2. Because well 2 is your big supply well right now. The volume from well 4 can replace the volume from well 2. So we have to have 4 up and running. So there's a sequencing that's going to happen during construction, which we've laid out a sequencing plan to be bid with the project. So, Mark?
When is there any approval process on well 4 when it starts, or?
There's just testing. It's been through all the approvals. It's a good question. It's been through all the approvals for water quality testing, permitting, and all that. When it's all connected, we have to do another round of water sampling and testing before it can be put
So
online.
that's a couple days, so it isn't like we
It's-
have to apply to the state and wait for their response?
No, there's no application. Bill, is probably, from time samples are collected and turnaround times from the lab, it's probably a 2-week time frame to get all the results back.
Okay.
And the testing that Emery and Gary did on the very early parts of drilling, they actually had 2 potential wells in that location that they were contemplating it. And they did water tests on both of those. Those both came back great. And then when they did the 7-day pumping test, where they pumped 24 hours a day, 7
Right.
days, they did another round of water sampling there, and those results came back great as well. So we don't anticipate, it's not as though you have high iron, high manganese, other issues that
Okay.
are going to be a factor. So there's no reason to believe that water quality would change. But there will be some testing before it's brought online.
Okay.
And one of the things that we in the last go-round of design review with Mark and his staff, we brought up what I call is probably still not a final budget for the project, but we kind of looked at the cost of the different design elements. And one of the things Mark had asked us to look at was we had talked some time ago about connecting well 3 right out of the gate, if that's affordable, versus modifications at well house 1. So we're far enough along in the plans and development of the equipment that we did a cost analysis on the addition to well house 1, which would be separate, would be its own treatment system. A lot of communities that have wells in different locations that have treatment systems at each well location, we're trying to avoid that because your wells 1, 2, and 3 are close, and then well 4 coming down to that location just makes sense to centralize it. So when we looked at those costs, Mark, we had put together a worksheet that's I think in the back of your packet.
Mm-hmm.
See if I can find that page.
There's one right there.
Oh, thank you. So what we did was, in putting this summary together, well 4 activation, that's has to happen.
Right.
And the combined treatment for wells 2 and 4 has to happen. So those two project elements are gonna remain the same regardless of what decisions would be made otherwise on well house 1 and well 3. The well house 1 upgrades to put a building addition to handle the 2 chemicals that the town currently uses at well house 2. You know, with duplicate, you have to have duplicate feed pumps. If one fails, you have to have one on standby. So that building addition with the chemical feed systems, you know, heating, ventilating, lighting, backup power, all that, is about $194,000. And then if that were not to happen and we were able to connect well 3 up to the combined treatment system, we actually had a budget price from Hiltz Construction when they did the transmission main for that length of pipe. And we increased that by about 20% just because that was a project that was done 2 years ago. That cost is about $180,000. There would still be about $20,000 worth of improvements to be done to well house 1 just for electrical safety, sampling, putting in a new valve, and some new piping in the basement area.
And that has to be done because we're gonna maintain the current line from well 3 through well house 1, so that if something happens, it will be an emergency
Yeah, you've always got,
way.
it's actually
We've
just
got a
gives you some
second way to
redundancy.
pump water
Yeah.
up to if we had to shut down the combined treatment facility for some reason, we could still pump water directly out of well 3, treat it, and then send it up the hill to
But
the
we're not
reservoir.
gonna use well 1 at all.
We're not gonna use well 1 at all,
Right.
we're,
Yeah.
we're gonna maintain
We're
it
just using the
offline.
building to treat.
We're just using the building to treat well 3 water. Yep.
Well, wait a minute, we're not going to use well 1 anymore?
No,
It's gonna stay connected, Bill. The water quality testing that Emery and Garrett did a few years ago, and they did an extended pump test on well 1. They confirmed a reliable yield of about 85 gallons a minute from that well, which is very low based on the town's needs today. But they also found high iron and manganese in the well, and the longer they pumped it, the higher the concentrations got. So the recommendation that they came back with and we agreed with is that well could be maintained for emergency use. If for
Okay.
some reason the town had a big fire in town square, or you know, you needed that extra 85 gallons a minute, it would be there, but it wouldn't be something you'd use normally.
On
Well,
day-to-day.
and then I'm not sure that I understand, if we're not going to use 1, why do we have to do upgrades to the well house? I mean, why, and we don't combine 2 and 4 or this, the upgrades that we'd have to make to the pump house 1, why do we have to do that if we're not gonna use it?
well house 1 pumps water, the water that comes out of well 3 currently
Right.
goes through well house 1. Okay? If we were to go with a combined treatment and build a new line out to well 3 and connect it to the combined treatment, the line that currently runs through well house 1, we would maintain it, and in an emergency, if we had to shut down the combined treatment facility, we could still pump the water out of well 3 through well house 1 and up to the reservoir. So the $20,000 is to do a minimal amount of work at well house 1.
It's not the 20,000 that
Yeah.
I'm asking them, why do we have to spend the 194?
No, we don't.
You
We
don't.
wouldn't do
You
both.
wouldn't. It
No,
would be
no, if
either
we
or.
chose option 1 here,
Yes.
which is separate, then you're saying we have to upgrade well house 1, and that's the one, I'm saying, why do we have to upgrade well house 1
Because
if we keep
that would
everything
be water
separate?
from well 3. That would be water from well 3 that we would be treating. It runs through there
So it's really, you're
It's
upgrading the
wellhouse
treatment
3.
System for well
for
house
well
3.
3.
Right,
For
but
well
it's in
3.
well house 1.
Yeah, sorry, it's a little bit confusing.
a little
Bill.
bit confusing.
Right now you have 2 producing wells, 2 and 3, and they both go through different locations.
Right,
At well house 1, which treats the water from well 3, there's inadequate treatment, there's nothing about that setup that meets electrical code, safety code.
So we'd have
heating,
to
ventilation,
upgrade
you
that.
We have
have
to
to do
upgrade
upgrades there. If you maintain the piping system you have right now, you
Right.
have to do upgrades at well house 1, and that's that separate well house 1 cost of 194.5 is to put
Right.
a whole new addition that has completely new treatment systems, redundancy with
All
pumping.
right, so explain to me the alternate. The alternate is 2 and 4. What was the well that's off, was off kind of by itself or something?
The one that's up in the White Mountain National Forest?
Can I draw something for you?
Yeah.
Does that help?
Because
I
I don't
apologize, I was
understand
gonna
this.
bring a map and I didn't wanna, I should have brought a map, I didn't
I
wanna.
got it, I got it.
Good, yeah.
I think this is probably the easiest way to,
Probably draw it on the board would be easier.
yeah, let me draw
Yeah,
it.
or is there a whiteboard there, or is that a?
No,
Okay.
let me just draw it on the
That's the serve one.
board. Correct me if
Oh.
I'm. So, the easiest way to do this is the river comes down,
Right,
we got pump house 2
right,
and pump house 1, okay?
all right,
We got well number 3, well number 2, well number 1, and then way
Four is
out
way
in
out
the
in the-
forest
okay,
is
out there.
well number 4,
right.
okay? Joe, everything right so far?
Yeah, that looks
Okay.
good. What do you need me
So-
for?
Well, well, one we're gonna bring it
That's well
in,
four.
whoops.
So one
I'm
option
sorry.
is to
Wait,
bring-
I wanna do this correctly. We're gonna build a new combined,
This is in the
treatment
first, no,
facility.
we're talking this, if we
In
go
both
separate,
cases.
both cases,
Right.
okay?
Yeah, that has
Okay.
to be done,
That
Bill.
has to be
this
done.
is the combined, and this pipe is gonna come in here, and then this pipe is gonna come into there, and we're
Right.
gonna treat the water together.
And
Right.
send it up.
Okay, and send it, then it's gonna come out, and it's gonna go up the road and up to the reservoir. The other option, and if we do
And what
this,
happens to,
Well
if we keep
three.
it separate, 3 goes
Okay.
into,
so the river goes down, and then well 3, the
Crosses
pipe
under
goes
the
under
river.
the river and goes through pump 1, and
And it
then
goes
goes out to
and
the
meets that,
distribution
right.
center.
okay,
This is the 194,000 is, we've gotta bring this pump house up to the same standard
I
as
gotcha.
this, okay, so that's option 1. Option 2,
you
We'll
just connect that one.
connect this to here
Right,
and treat everything here,
right.
but we still, this line,
And you're gonna
We're
shut
gonna
one down,
maintain-
other than you'll keep the line.
keep the line
Right.
for some emergency,
emergency.
but in order to use it for the emergency, we gotta make some minor, that's the $20,000 at this pump house.
Yeah, there's some lighting, heating,
There's some lighting,
ventilation,
yeah.
there's also some corroded piping in well
That
house 1 that
needs to
should
be
be
replaced.
replaced.
Okay, and that would just be for an emergency
So
use
the
of
rules are
well 3.
different for emergency in terms of what the
Yeah, we don't
requirements
have
are.
to-
and the-
Yeah, we would put taps in there for sampling and for chemical addition and and it would normally be shut off, but if you ever had to use it, then, you know,
Will we ever
Robbie and
have to
staff
use
would
it?
have to
Well,
hook some
well,
chemicals in.
When we would have to use it is if something happened at this facility, because all the water would be coming in here. So
Yeah,
if we,
right.
I mean, it would have to be an extreme situation, but we'd wanna maintain
Irene
this.
times 2 or
Yeah,
lightning strike or
Is well
something.
one
that-
hooked up to pump house 1 as well?
yes, that's right. This goes right now.
And
So
will it
currently
continue
we
after
have-
It will continue, but again, it's gonna be shut off.
Emergency.
Yeah, yeah.
So currently, well house 2, currently,
Well,
That
house
just-
2.
there's a line that comes down and feeds that
It
line that
feeds
goes
into
under the
here,
river and
goes
goes out.
out.
So there's
Yeah.
basically 2 treatment facilities.
That's
today.
right, well,
Well, you got
today,
about 1 and a
today
half,
there's
really.
1.5
You don't have-
because we do inline treatment here
And you only
in a
have
very
one,
minimal.
yeah, you don't have the right,
And if I may interject, the whole idea behind the mixing well and getting all these wells to one area, we'll be able to monitor the pH and the chlorine additions
Right.
and the residuals a lot better than guessing
Right.
what number one's doing and guessing what number two's doing.
And you're not gonna duplicate, you're saving chemicals.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it'll
you're
all
gonna
be-
save it, yeah, and that's a good point, Mike. You're also, if we had to do a separate addition on well house one for treatment,
Right.
the state requires redundancy, so you have two chemical feed pumps for hypochlorite at well house one, and
And
two
two
of the
at-
same pumps,
right.
so you have twice as much equipment to maintain and replace, and the redundancy's okay if it's in one location, but when you start doing that in other locations, you get into,
So the pipe
Additional
going
costs.
from 3 to 1 today, will that be maintained?
Yes,
You're
we'll,
not gonna use it.
We're not
but
gonna
would you
use it.
keep the pipe?
we will keep the pipe in
So in an
place.
emergency, even
Right.
3
That's
could go
correct.
back to feeding through 1 again.
That's,
Yeah.
that's the whole idea, that's what the
gives you
$20,000
it gives you actually a good backup plan.
Yeah,
Right
That's
now,
our
it
balance.
keys in, it
All right,
keys
I
in
got
right
it, I
there at the
understand
bridge.
now,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
And we also, Mark had asked us to look at the, you know, Mike, you brought up the chemical
Right.
costs. We looked at what would it mean to run that system at well house one, and, so we did separately. So we did look, we estimated 15 minutes a day of Robbie or someone from Public Works eventually, just having to go in and check chemicals, mix up a new batch of the hypochlorite, 5 days a week, and ran that out, plus the heating, ventilation, electrical costs for that building, which is about $1,800, about $150 a month. And then a one-time replacement of the feed pumps during that 20-year life cycle. And it equates to about $4,600 a year in cost. So by moving it up to one location, that's an avoided cost, I guess, you could say, to not have a second system.
So if, when we bid this out and it comes back in, let's suppose it comes in more, the bid comes in higher than we anticipate, could we make some of that up by delaying the upgrades to well house one for a year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
I think the absolute key is to get these first two items on the list, which is that well 4 down to the well 2 area
Right.
and the combined treatment. And if anything beyond that is beyond the budget, I'm sure we can work with DES based on the last sanitary survey to.
Well, the other one would be to get, that would be the next priority, is get 3 connected up.
I
to
think
the
that's the best
combined.
option for the
Right.
town long term,
Yes.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, there's
All
only a
right, gotcha.
$5,500 difference.
But you
and
might
we're
be able,
saving
if you
46.
had to for a couple of years.
Right.
just-
Yeah, yeah,
just
absolutely.
delay
There
that.
Not
might, there might be
21.
some modifications made, Bill,
Right.
to improve the chemical feed system at one temporarily, with the understanding that the town's objective would be to connect well 3.
Can I, once 4 goes on, I guess I never asked you this, once 4 and 2 are on, is 3 necessary, I mean, in
Yeah,
that sense?
we're gonna
3
still use 2
use
and
it?
3 primarily, and 4 is gonna be our
I think,
intermittent.
yeah, we've been
and
talking
high
about
use.
control sequences, and I think what we wanna see, Mark, I'm sorry to,
Yeah, yeah,
I
go
don't
ahead.
wanna,
No.
step on your toes, but we've talked about, with DES about water quality, and it's probably best to pump all 3 wells all the time to keep
Right.
the water in the lines moving and keep everything fresh.
Right.
But it's a good question, what it's gonna do is it's gonna decrease the amount of pumping from well 2 and 3 that you've seen.
Well,
in the
I'm looking
past.
at if it doesn't go through the treatment part, I mean, or will we be able to?
Could you shut down well 3 for a period of time?
3, yeah, so we're not have to maintain,
That's a good question, I'm not sure how long
you can do that.
you could do that.
From what, because you don't have enough flow?
From a regulatory standpoint, where you've got what has been
Yeah.
one of your prime producing wells, if you just say, we're gonna shut it down for a few years so we don't have to comply with all these rules, and then we'll turn it back on when we're ready, I don't know, we'd have to ask that question.
But you could shut it down for a month.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna rotate the wells. The other thing, we've got a 4 to 5 year period that we're going to have water table levels that will be tested every year.
Monitored, yeah.
Monitored.
Up at well 4.
Up at well 4. So we don't wanna, if we don't have to, we don't wanna stress that area any more than we need to, because we don't, we wanna try to prevent any impact on that water table if we can help it.
Yeah, there should be very little.
Yeah, there should be, it
Ultimately,
shouldn't
but-
be any, but
We'd like to balance.
We'd like to
We'd like to
balance.
balance the 3 wells contributing, so it would be
I
less.
think I would almost have the exact opposite reaction, which is I'd wanna know Wellhouse 4 is capable of doing what it's supposed to do.
Well, we
You
did
know.
that during the
Well,
7-day
the
pump
permit-
test, we pumped maximum
Yeah,
for
yeah.
7
Well, I know,
days.
I mean, I'd turn this son of a gun on, we
Yeah.
spent all this money.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, the good news is, and if there's any good news to this, is the rest of the money that's left's all grant money.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah, I'm just worrying because we're at the limits of the grant, that if the
Yes.
bids come in over,
Right.
because we don't have the luxury of saying, well, rebid it.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't have enough time yet.
good questions, and I'm going to ask that question of DES about
well 3.
if well 3, because that would, you know, if it's whether it's a month or a year, if they would.
Well, we've been talking about the bid process being the ad alternates and everything else. And, you know, what we'd like, if it's all right with you, is to just bid it
Right.
with the well 3 connection.
Right,
Get the best
I
possible
agree with
bid
you
that we
there,
can.
that's
And-
no, now that
and
I
let's
understand
not-
it, it's
Yeah.
fine with me.
And I think these are all good comments. I think the perspective too, if the bids do come in higher than anticipated, being able to make that well 3 connection later, you'll still have the capacity of well 4 combined with well 2 is more than the capacity you have today with 2 and 3. So you're not sacrificing anything for the demand, meeting the demands that the town has from a volume standpoint, capacity standpoint.
Okay, all right,
Great, thank you.
go ahead.
All right.
So do we need a motion to,
No?
I mean, you can if you want, but I
I
don't
think
need
we're
it, I
fine
guess,
with,
if
okay,
you're
I
in
think we're
agreement.
fine with going with Plan B.
Yep. Plan B.
But the other thing I'd like to point out, because the news is good, both of these options come in within the budget, which we weren't thinking. I mean, Joe's done a
You were
good job
thinking
on the
40 or
design.
$50,000.
Yeah, we were thinking
Yeah.
40 or 50,000 more than we
Yeah.
had
Well,
left in the grant.
Let's get it done,
so-
then we'll take them out to dinner.
Okay.
Well, we're trying to.
We'll give you a glass of water.
I'll be happy to be the first one to drink it, how's that, from well 4.
Yeah.
No, we've been working pretty closely with the electrical engineer too. As Greg had mentioned, the monitoring, you already have this SCADA system set up, and we're trying to make sure that all this is tied up and connected, but we're trying to do it as economically as possible using the framework that you already have.
All right,
So-
well, let me ask you a question to that point.
Sure.
Is there anything that we're looking at that we might have existing now that we should know about that might be obsolete to this process in the next 2 years?
We just redid the SCADA.
How about
Okay,
the radios?
yeah.
How about the radios?
The radios, the ones that are in there are on their,
More than the 10-year vintage now,
Yes.
yeah. Because the
but
radio
they, knock on
technology.
wood, they've still been,
Well, explain to me what the radios
the
do.
radios transmit.
The data.
Okay.
Each pump house has a
A transmitter.
PLC
Okay.
Yeah.
program.
Yep.
So if we had leftover money, but those are probably a short order, can you order those?
Sure.
Couple grand.
No, I'm just concerned that we put this in and we need another 40,000 next year because we needed a new.
The thing I
something
think
to
you
make
could
the
look
system
at
work.
is maybe every year replacing 1 or 2, and you'd be 2-3 years, you'd be back up.
How much
to-
are they? How much is the radio?
Couple thousand.
Okay. All right, good. I just wanted to make sure we're
No,
not
it's a
gonna put
really-
this in
that's a good
and need a
question.
new panel to keep up with it.
No,
No, and that's actually what we typically would do, Mike, and that's why I brought up, is we would typically put a whole new big panel out at well 4, and, you know, every well would have their own panel, but
Right.
there are other ways to do that more economically, and, you know, we're trying to work with the skeletal system that you have with the SCADA now and just tie things into it, so.
Okay. Well, great.
Try to save
I
a
think
few
we have
dollars
plenty
there.
of funds, so.
Well, once
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank
Joe.
you very much.
Okay, great.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Joe.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else from Public Works, Jim?
Not unless you have any questions for me.
Well, we have the
Which,
meeting
I,
we
you
talked
know,
about.
I've been kind of walking along the
About the
roads to
meeting
see
that
what
you
kind of
and I
shape
had.
everything is in these
Mhm.
days. And
With-
the road that goes all the way up the top of there, Greeley Hill,
Yeah.
what is that, Snows Mountain Road?
Yes.
That's not in very good shape, is it?
It gets a little better come summertime,
Oh,
but we are seeing some frost heaves coming out now.
well, I mean, there is some
And,
patches
yeah,
where it's
yes.
just dirt up there.
Well, there's quite a few water main break repairs up along that road, and those don't tend to
Yes,
hold
I mean,
up
just
as
so,
well.
cause I know we every now and then get pushback from people who live on Moose Run that their edges are cracking.
Yeah.
Right.
That's further along than edges cracking.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
And frost heaves, I don't remember frost heaves on Boulder Path being as deep as they are this year.
Well, and on Snow's Brook.
Are they? Yeah.
Snow's Brook is, we have to keep an eye over the top of the big culvert on the Snow's Brook Road.
yeah.
Because that is where, I've never seen it since I've been here, as deep as it is this year.
And what causes that?
There's no frost, and I think that's probably.
Well,
what-
there is frost,
Yeah.
you know, and
Well, yeah.
what you didn't get was frozen stable, you know, where it freezes and then it doesn't move for 2
Right.
months, you know. Right now, it's
We've been-
freezing, thawing, freezing, thawing,
Exactly.
you know?
Well, when we did the water main break, I think, what we have, 8 to 12 inches maybe of frost.
Yeah, but
Maybe a couple of
but
feet.
that was kinda hard because we've got 50
Well,
degree
water.
water,
Yeah,
you know,
That's
and,
true.
so we could've lost some there.
yeah.
Okay.
But there wasn't much frost at all.
All right.
All righty.
And Mark, you told Jim about that street light.
Uh,
I sent
I
you a little
actually,
email.
those have all been reported to the co-op,
Oh, okay.
so we need to follow up.
And the,
Snow's Brook Road.
right,
No,
and,
not
and
Snowsbrook,
the
Valley-
two solar
Valley
ones?
Road.
The
No,
two
no, Valley
Valley.
Road, 8th, hole T box, there's a light that stays on all the time.
Okay,
The
That's
street
new.
light. The ones before it and after it are not on, but this one is on, you know, looks like, I mean, I haven't tested 24/7, but it's definitely on in the morning when I go by, so, yeah.
we'll keep an eye on it.
Great. Thank you. Okay, calendar review. Anybody going anywhere?
Not immediately.
Okay, anyone have any requests for town meeting day to be away at certain hours to be there? Do you have
No,
anything you
I'm
need to
alright.
do that day?
Yeah, like I said, I can be there almost the entire day, except I'd like to have an
No,
hour
we're
off
we're
at
just
4.
kidding. We would do the same for each other in that circumstance. So who wants to
No,
take
I'm
what?
okay.
So it's 11 to 5 is
No, it's 12, I think.
12 to
It's
5.
12 noon to 5,
12 to 5?
yeah, and then 5:30 is the start of the.
12
delivery.
noon on March 8th, right? Well, I'm completely
No,
flexible.
yeah, we
I
got
can do
one more
12 to
thing.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, the
I
discussion
can
with
do
Dick
12
Labonte.
to 4.
You're okay, Judy.
I said I can do 12 to 4.
You don't need to do all that.
How about if I do 3 on?
Okay.
3 on, I'll do 1 to 3, and you do 11 to 1. How's that?
No, it isn't on at 11, right?
Or
We're not
11
voting.
o'clock,
Or is it noon?
12.
noon?
Noon.
Okay, you do noon?
11 to 1?
No. Why don't you do,
Do you want somebody there for setup? That's the question. Okay,
why don't you do noon to 1:30?
okay.
I'll do 1:30 to 3:30. And you do 3:30 through closing.
3:30,
All right. So what am I, again? I'm 12.
got it.
1:30 to 3:30.
1:30
That way I get to have the soup.
The
And
soup,
town meeting's at 5:30, right?
5:30.
5:30 or 6?
5:30, we said.
5:30 we agreed,
Yeah.
okay.
And soup starts at 4.
4,
Yeah.
right.
4 o'clock, they're gonna start.
They definitely gonna do it?
They are,
Okay.
Yeah, they've spoken to you about it?
yep.
Excellent. And the budget hearing for the school is that night before, so that is at, what time?
6
is it?
o'clock.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
Should we, you wanna talk about the memo you suggested?
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
I just have 2 suggestions.
Okay.
I think,
You have
I have, the description of what's gonna happen in the Waterville Valley School District, I'm fine with.
Mhm.
The description of what's gonna happen in the town, it
Mhm.
says during the deliberative session, as well as special warrant articles covering such as accepting money from a grant for new signs, I think it's a little bit misleading.
Okay.
It's really spending money to re-sign the town.
Okay.
We're not just voting on accepting the grant. We're voting on authorized to spend $60,000.
Well, actually.
And I don't,
120,
so
you're right.
I didn't wanna leave people
Yep.
the impression that's all
Accepting
about.
So-
matching grant?
Well, no, why don't we say,
basically a proposal to.
Proposal for new signs on roads and trails with part of the
Exactly.
funding coming from grants.
That's fine with me.
Is that okay?
Yeah. And I would, the only other change I would make is, prior to the deliberative session,
Yeah,
I would just add a statement that from 4 o'clock on,
okay.
the kiddies are gonna serve soup and, sandwiches for a, in return
benefit.
for a donation or something.
Yeah.
As a
Or
benefit
soup
for the
and bread,
school.
right, whatever they're gonna do,
Yeah.
just so that people know.
Yeah.
But, other than that, I'm fine with it. And
Okay.
there will be a reference that you can, so you can click and find
There,
those.
where it
read the
says
warrant article.
here, there are links to
That's fine.
the
Yeah.
full,
Okay,
I'm all right.
okay, great. All right, thanks, that's good. All right, presentation of budget at town meeting?
I just had questions about what you wanted on each of the warrant articles. We have the, folks, Wendy is gonna be doing the presentation on the Our Town grant. But for the other warrant articles, do you want anything presented? Do you,
I think it's
Are
all,
they going to try to present some kind of a picture?
yeah, I think
yes,
they are.
they will,
All right.
yep, yep.
You know, I think it's gonna be difficult for people, other than that, to visualize,
Right.
why are we spending this money?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are
they
they
will.
gonna have it there during polling hours?
We can,
Yeah, like we
It's
did
a
with
really
any-
good idea, because
Yeah.
people can take their time and
Yeah.
look at it, or,
Right.
you know.
okay, yep.
Who's running this year, is that you?
Yep. Yeah, my political action committee got that dollar together.
Oh, your PAC?
You're
Raised the
back,
buck.
raised a buck.
I haven't heard you insult anybody, though. Yeah, you could do better than that.
Well, you know, it's early in the campaign. They haven't insulted, did you hear what Trump said yesterday? He goes, I haven't insulted Rubio because he hasn't come after me yet, but when he does.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Okay,
Gotta love it.
you know,
Chaos.
we couldn't work to get ourselves on a level of national politics.
There was,
Oh,
we'll wait
Well,
until after the
yeah.
meeting.
We'll,
I'll tell you about this.
The next meeting will be immediately
After.
following
Right
town
after.
Right.
meeting.
Right.
We'll do the
Usual-
appointments
Right.
and,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Selection of a chair.
yep.
The voting is over at
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, town meeting starts at 5:30. Okay, we'll have to do it after. I was gonna say, if I was
Yeah,
thinking
you-
it was gonna start at 6, that we could actually hold a meeting before.
Well, I wanted to also, in case whatever changes
Right.
You know,
happen.
I haven't been reelected yet.
Well, we'll wait to hear the news, right?
You know, the independents could show up. Do you think if one of these other people were written in enough, they would give up their presidential campaign and come over here?
They might.
Okay, so we've got that correspondence, or do we want to take
I
our
don't-
correspondence into non-public
Well, from the meeting.
from the meeting I
Yeah.
had yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, Reggie, got anything for us?
No.
Well, thank you for being here, and, all right, so I guess it is 10 after 4, I'd like to thank everyone, we'll go into non-public.
All right.